Hey guys, Johnny Glock here again for part 3 of the series on this 19 Tom Marshall scent. And last time my chin was like down here like that. I gotta be careful. Anyway, so what I did was I peened the slide, which means, and I can show you this technique too. It's pretty cool. It seems a little barbaric, but actually it does work. Trust me, it works. Basically, there were two things that were going on with this gun that I didn't like. It had that glitch in it, and I thought the glitch was coming from the fact that the slide bucked up in the air a little bit, and that was definitely part of the issue, because once I tightened up the slide frame fit, everything just came out absolutely wonderful. So now this is it's a masterpiece. It is the Pappy Van Winkle of triggers. I know Tom enjoys bourbon, so I'll use that reference. And I'm going to break it down now to the gun to show you. You know, I got rid of the aluminum chute too, so sorry about that, Tom. It just didn't cut the mustard. I showed you all that wobble in it. And someone sent me an email like, isn't that wobble from side to side? Well, the spring from the slide lock, which is this spring right here, how it puts a little pressure on it, fills in that area, take care of that. And it does to an extent, but the bigger thing is, if I can find something here to, okay. Is this hole right here. So that hole, and the set screw they use sometimes doesn't have the, actually I'll bring it down for this. We're going to drop it down like this so you can see it a little bit better. I won't have my face in the background. So this hole right here, if the set screw isn't actually, it has a lot of room to wiggle in there. That particular group was using a 2/56 hex screw, which actually had threads the whole way through. So over time, you're going to have threads biting into this, which is going to cause, you know, it's just not the best way to do it over time. You want something smooth in here, so a shoulder set screw probably could have been a better choice. But that's just what was used in that aluminum shoe. But you can see all this wiggle right here when the trigger is being pulled. Even that little bit right there, left to right, I mean up to down vertically. If you can see the movement, that's a lot of crappy feel in a trigger, as far as I'm concerned. That's just me. So basically, there I go again, basically. Anyway, we had a lot of buck right there. And now you can see as I'm moving this trigger, nothing at all is moving back there. It's completely tight. So when I do purchase the wall, and then oh, there's a little bit of movement right there. When I do purchase the wall and go to break, it's tight. And you more or less see it after the break. So when it'll buck, it'll just move slightly right there. It's so quick. It's almost imperceivable. Right there. And a lot of people, another thing I want to tell you guys is, and I wanted to show this, if you're testing engagement and you use the armorer's backplate here, a lot of times this right here abuts this piece of plastic right here. Now I said sometimes this isn't, but it's you know, if there's a lot of issues in the slide to frame, you know, you'll see this whole thing move back here. I'll tell you one thing. I had a client once that gave me his gun and said it's, you know, when he did that, boom, it was going off every time. And so luckily he was trained and he had it to an outside wall. And I said, well, God almighty, bring it back. And he did. And I went through it like with a fine-tooth comb. I said, nothing's wrong with this at all. I gave it back to him, took it home, boom, same exact thing. And I finally said, there is something you are doing to this gun in between the time you hand it to me and the time I hand it, but, you know, back to you. What are you doing? You're doing something. He goes, nothing, man. All I'm doing is replacing the back plate. And what it was one of those aluminum back plates. So when the slide came forward right here, it was going boom and hiking the gun up in the back. And everyone knows what happens to that. It just knocks the sear, the striker pin with that kind of pressure, smacking this up in the air a little bit in the rear would absolutely be enough to release the firing pin. And everyone says, well, wouldn't the safeties hold that? And the answer is no. Once that firing pin goes, it goes. You know, there's no safeties to keep that type of thing in check. So that's very important. So like I said, when you're checking your engagement back here with the armorer's plate, and you just look in there, and that's it. You know, and you pull a little bit. It should probably move a little bit when I pull. Just the slightest bit. But sometimes if there isn't you know, a good slide to frame fit, and you're just checking like this and you don't pull up, like the key is to pull up on this as hard as you can up in the air. So actually as you're pulling up, you're pulling the trigger. That's going to give you the maximum amount of up like that. That's going to give you the maximum amount of slide to frame tolerance right there. So you're pulling up and then pulling the trigger. Pulling up and then pulling the trigger. Sometimes if I know these guns are going up north, I might even throw them in the freezer and see how they respond, because the cold affects things. And that's another important thing to think of. So, to getting rid of the aluminum trigger shoe and peening the slide, which I will show you how to do next. And so what you're looking for here is these tabs, or the rails. Yeah, the tabs, we'll say. The tabs right here. Back it out right there. Metal and metal. And you can polish these too, and take the tooling marks off them, and maybe round them a little bit if you want. You can do anything. This makes the gun just feel very smooth, especially if you're going to peen it. So what you're going to do is you're going to match this up to the gun. And then you'll take a pencil, which is, okay, of course it's a Glock pencil. And you can see right here where you want to match this up like this. So see where the metal part is right here? You're going to sort of make a mark here and a mark here. I know, so that's where I know the metal is touching. And then you have to be really careful on this one as well. Mark this and this right here. And the reason you have to be careful on this side is because when you do strike this with a hammer, you can see it gets thinned out. It thins out right here, right where you're striking. So right in between where my finger is, I'll move all my other fingers. Right there is where the hammer is going to strike, and right there is where the hammer is going to strike. And so you would have to take the back of the slide off. I'm not going to actually do it because I've already done it. And depending on your skill level, you're going to put that on an anvil, or you can vise it, or there's a bunch of different ways. Sometimes the problem is out like this. It kind of sways out, and there's a term for that. I can't remember it right now. Splay. It splays out. So basically, you have to vise it back together. With this, all I'm doing is sort of coming in, and when I strike, I'm striking the area, or I'll strike it with the ball peen side, and you kind of do like almost like what you learn in blacksmithing. But that's literally seems ridiculous, and to do it that way. But any old schoolers that are watching this know that's exactly what they do with 1911s. So that's going to tighten this area up, and that's going to tighten. And sometimes you might overdo it. So when you go to put it on, it's like, and you gotta push through. You know what I mean? If that's the case, just keep working it to see if it's going to get any looser. Usually it will. If not, I usually take a nice big industrial size screwdriver as such, and sometimes just do a very little bit of a turn right there, just to get it to open just the smallest bit, you know, and sometimes you'll have to, like, you know, get a tweak in there like that, but unless you really slam the living bejesus out of this, you're not going to break the slide. But I said be very careful right here, because you see it what you're pounding into right there. You really start to thin out with the slide lock cutaway right there. That's a very important part. But that's one of those tidbits that, you know, not a lot of people know about. They don't know you can tighten the slides on these. And then, man, when you do that, you can see last time it had a lot of movement. Now, just a littlest bit of movement side to side. And that makes a huge difference. Huge. So if I pull the trigger, you can barely see any movement there. I know last time it was really hard to see this. I was watching the video myself and I'm like, well, I really didn't illustrate it that good, but yeah. All you see is when it comes up after the shot breaks. And as far as the trigger is concerned, this is what we spoke about here. I'll put it up just a little bit. There's a little bit of pre-travel right there. You can see the safety is completely operable. A little bit of pre-travel right there, and then let me see if I can get a better angle. Okay, that's good. A little bit of pre-travel. We're on the wall right there, and from there it's a quick break. And you see how fast that thing's breaking. And then the reset is the same, palpable break. And I'm coming out slower with the reset, so it might seem like, there we go. It might seem like it's a longer reset, but when you're firing this gun, like I just did right there, you'll see the movements are very minute. That's exactly what Tom asked for. So we're going to do a trigger test pull on here, and right about 4 pounds, a little bit under 4 pounds is what he's asking for. Three and a half. Between 3.5 and 4. Between 3.5 and 4. So, you know, and that's, like I said before, that's the easiest thing to do. You just change the springs in order to, to really, if you want to, going up is easy, going down is a different story, you know, because you might have liability issues when it comes to primers. So, and like the other thing is, like I said, when you get the magazine in there, that's going to make the slide to frame relationship even tighter, especially when you get the rounds in there. So this gun will be going out today. It'll be going back. I know he has a function this weekend that he wants to shoot the living crap out of it. So I'll be excited. I know it's going to perform. I know it's going to push Tom to do his best, and that's kind of like why I build the triggers this way to, you know, they'll run, man. They'll run you as fast as you can shoot them. They're going to run right with you. So that's part of the whole deal. You know, you want to become a better shooter, you got to have the tools. And, you know, that's the kind of trigger I build, the kind of trigger that's going to challenge you as a shooter. And, you know, you have to work your way into it, because very few people can shoot faster than trigger. Let's put it that way. And you can see where it's already, you know, it stops all the way back there. There's really no movement too much to this whatsoever when it comes to reset and break. I hate these guys. So. Okie doke. Knock off the top of my head. So, I'm really glad I did this video series, because it gives people the inside of exactly what I'm doing. There was a couple comments too that, you know, from people that I've done this before, that, you know, this is the same service they've got. Not the video. Well, actually, I have done videos. The last Suarez one was for a client of mine that I said I'd do it because it was something new. With this was a pretty detailed, and I'm glad we ran into issues with the aluminum shoe. I'm glad we ran into issues with the slide. You got to see exactly what happens. Not every gun turns out to be, you know, the golden slipper, but it is now. And that took, you know, work. And you have to shoot it, and you have to test it. And, you know, a lot of other people, you know, just do a drop-in or send a drop-in. They don't test it. I know they don't. So basically, every one of these triggers is put in a gun and shot before I send it to you, just to make sure. And usually 2 or 3 frames I'll put it in to make sure the engagement is right. Even though I have the recipe down pretty good, you know, and I'll mic it out every once in a while just to make sure I'm within tolerances. These are completely safe. Trigger shoe, tab safety, 100%. Drop shelf safety, 100%. And of course the firing pin safety, because I do the little scallop cutter, take a little bit of angle off there. Completely reliable, completely predictable, flawless, functioning every single time trigger groups. That is my due diligence. I take it very seriously that you confide in me and you have confidence to send me your firearm, or you drop in my kit. Like I said before, I do duty groups, and that is a huge responsibility. And I know I can go to sleep at night knowing that, you know, someone's not going to draw and it's going to go click, it's going to go bang. So that's about it. I hope you guys enjoyed this series. I'm going to try to do, you know, think of some other stuff. Usually the guns will come to me and it'll be like, oh, I'll do this kind of series, because I can just kind of wing it like I did with this one. But like I said, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed the videos. Keep the comments coming, share, do all the stuff you want to do. Try to help me out a little bit with social media, because I am horrible at it. And until next time, this is Johnny Glock, and I feel cheesy saying my motto, but you just thought you had a good trigger. All right, take it easy.